back to Heartfire Sessions, episode 8. This one is also with my friend Swami Champak Anand. Welcome to the next part of our talk. I told you we talked for a long time. In fact, all of these videos with Swami Champak were recorded in one sitting. All right. In this episode, we talked about how to heal someone who doesn't want to be healed. We talked about how an instance where Swami Champak, the first time he got to help a soul pass over to the other side. And we also talked about Krishnamurti and a little bit about his life, who is someone that Champak actually got to interview at one point. So I know you're going to love it as much as I did. And please, while you're here, hit like, hit subscribe, share this video with someone you think may be interested, and I hope you enjoy.
So this is why I did another YouTube about how to do healing on people that we do not have permission.
Mm-hmm.
uh, And so in that, what you do is you create a karmic, uh, uh, energetic bank account for that person, and then you put all this prayer and all this blessings and all this whatever it is that they need. You put it into that account, and you kind of anchor it into the Akashic records, and then pin it to that person when it's their time of need, when they are requesting, when they're pleading to God, God, please help me. And at that moment, that's when that vault opens and they get this download and they have this
Mm-hmm.
miraculous event. Yay! And so we haven't interfered with them because they've
Mm-hmm.
asked for it, but we've just prepared the meal for them. It's a meal ready.
I like it. Yeah.
Oh, that one is perfect because the beauty of that one is, like, we can work on these clients that are reluctant, that are deliberately keeping us on hold because
Mm-hmm.
they know that they need to do the work, but they don't want, and so they're trying to hold us into this thing of, for days, weeks, years, whatever, you know, and so we can do the whole healing, and it's like, okay, and then dealt with, that box is checked, and now it's up to them for when they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna activate it themselves, and then we can move on. We don't have to hang around, and keep a link open to this person that, for when they're finally gonna, ask us to help, It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, we're too busy for that, It's like, yeah, some people, yeah, some people will wait for them. They're worth waiting, attentively, but a lot of people, it's like, no, uh, yeah, so we
If it's a
okay,
close
just
family member or someone we really love, we'll wait for them. But other people, sometimes you're too busy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a really good one, so
Mhm.
that's a YouTube, that's on that Wisdom Master series, how to, uh, edit, spiritual bank account, I think it's called. Yeah, yeah. I was in real good form that day,
Mhm.
really good, because it was like a week after Master Cho had come in dream time
Uh-huh.
and
Mhm.
asked me to do this, you know?
Mhm.
And then so I wrote it down, and then a week or so later, it's like I get this, "Oh, I wanna go for a hot tub." Well, my friend's place is 30 miles away, so I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna." So I drove down there. It just happened to be another friend that was sitting there who had this little, you know, small little camera thing. He said, "Hey, Champak, you wanna say something to the camera?" And I'm going, "What? What's that? I don't know." This micro technology, I didn't know what it was all about. So, "Yeah, sure, whatever." You know? Well, it was a video recorder. So he just kept on interviewing and asking me all these questions, and it went on and on and on. So we sat there for like 2 hours, and I was just like fielding it all, and then he realized what he had captured here, so
Mhm.
got together with his buddies and went, "Wow, this stuff is gold," so they broke it up into little 3-minute little segments, and minute and a half, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 2, 1, whatever like that, and made 10 of these little things, and then
Mhm.
posted it on YouTube, you know, and then, yeah, so every once in a while, I check in on that, and I see that it's migrated out on, so many places around the world and different, it's like, And that was Master Choa asking me to get this out to the world,
Mhm.
you know? And so he coordinated just like how Osho woke me up for this cup of tea to go save this person down at the front gate, you know?
Mhm.
And then what happens after that was this woman, who I'd rescued it, asked her for sanctuary. Uh, we were at lunch the next day with, because that's the main meal that happens, and so that's the time for the meet and greet to meet everybody that's there, you know. And so up in the high rent district, so we're all sitting around this big table having lunch being served to us, and so she gets the inspiration to, hey, how about we introduce each other? Let's just have a go around the table, for 30 seconds, and people say who you are or whatever. Da, da, da. Yeah, great. So it goes around the table, and then it gets to this one woman, and she starts talking about, because she's a yoga teacher. Well, holy moly, every word that is coming out of her mouth, there's this musical accompaniment, like in a movie, you know, was background music was just, synced to what it was that she was saying, So I'm going, wow. And I look around and I'm the only one hearing this,
Mhm.
So I went, okay, well, is there a radio or sitar or somebody? No, there's no external sources for this to be happening. So it could only be angelic music. I I
Mhm.
conclude, Okay, great. And then her turn is finished, and then goes on to the next person, and the next person, so the music stops. So it's only just with her, local event. Hmm. So after everything was all finished and we were all settled down and stuff, and my friend, her and I, we were not being any kind of exclusive thing or anything like that. It was really casual. Uh, in so much that right after lunch, she just kind of disappeared, and I never saw her again.
Mhm. Mhm.
My job was done. Her job, she only needed sanctuary just for the night, so, you know, so that she could plan her escape to get out of town, and the less people that knew, the better, as far as she was concerned. So she didn't want to leave
Mhm.
no evidence or trail or anything like that. Didn't want to tell me, which is fine. And so anyway, so I went over to this person, and I sat down beside her, and I was just right up front with her. I said, uh, uh, "When you were speaking, there was this celestial, angelic music that was accompanying every word that you were saying." And then I went through the whole thing about, there couldn't be this, couldn't be that, and all that kind of stuff. Uh, right away, right then. And so this was mid 70s, and we're still talking.
Mhm.
She lives in France, in the Riviera. So, and so she was really well connected, and so um, yeah, so we became a real hot item, and so much so that she went back. So this is my one-way ticket, $200 cash um, trip, and so I meet her. So she goes back to Paris to divorce her husband because she wants me to come and marry her and live with her in Paris.
Mhm.
But it's too soon, and so she needs time to, so she asks me, look, I would like you to wait somewhere. So I know this place, this ashram. I'll take you there where you can get good food. So it was Osho's ashram. So she delivers me to Osho with a bag of money. Yeah, and I go through this huge metamorphosis that is just like, I didn't, I wound up, it was impossible to go to Paris and marry her, but she called me in later on because there was a suicide that had happened. The next year, I think it was, we we were on. She sent me a ticket. No, a couple of years later. Yeah, I know. I get this, telepathic link, that, oh, I must call Colette. Yeah, God, and I'm downtown in Vancouver. It's like I can't call from a payphone. It's way before cell phones. So I race home and I'm running up from the bus, running upstairs. The front door is still banging on the hinges. I pick up the phone. I dial, and she says, "Hello," and I says, "Hello, Colette, it's me." She says, "It is you. What took you so long to call? I've been sitting here for 2 hours waiting for you to call." you know, we hadn't spoken in years. I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I know, I'm sorry, yeah, I couldn't call you from a payphone." Then she says, "I don't know what it is, but you must be here for Christmas." And I'm just hearing this echo of this thing about, yeah, yeah. So she says, "So I send you a ticket." And then she's, "Don't say no," you know, because it's part of the manifesting sort of thing there. Well, she was really on it. Don't inhibit this at all, because there's something bigger than all of this. And it also helped that her now ex-husband was vice president of Thomas Cook Travel. So send me a ticket. No,
Sending you a
that's,
ticket was not difficult.
yeah, totally within yeah, 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 yeah. And so Christmas comes around. I fly there. I meet her nephew. Then we go off to this Switzerland to a chalet, private chalet, and I'm reading uh, um, uh, a magazine about Osho and a death that had happened with one of the sannyasins, and he's writing about don't feel sorry for her. Feel sorry for yourself because she is moving so fast because she knows that her body is dying. She knows that she's not getting out of this. So what she's doing is she's doing everything she can to accelerate, you know, uh, and before her body dies. So she's
Mhm.
moving at lightning speed. It's amazing, it's fantastic, which was a whole. And I was so moved about this. I said,
Mhm.
wow. So this also explains why some people take on these lingering deaths, like cancers and so on and so forth,
Mhm.
because they know that their time is limited. So it's time to get on with cleaning their karma, doing all this, and they really, uh, and so it's actually, it's a gift
Mhm.
to really, uh, yeah. Otherwise, keep on putting it off and putting it off. So so anyways, so I got to talk to her about this. So I'm going down the stairs at the same time she's coming up the stairs, and we both got to talk to each other, and I'm all excited, and she's not. I go, well, wait a minute, what's going on? No, 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 go ahead, finish your story. And I said, no, 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 what's going on? You're not happy. Well, she had just gotten off the phone with her brother who had just come home in Paris and found that his son, this is the hard part, his son had committed suicide
Mhm.
in the apartment. And so, I mean, this is just minutes old, and so he doesn't know what to do. So he calls his sister. And so she's on the phone talking to him. Okay, well, she'll come. And so then now she's coming to tell me that she has to leave, and and so she's saying, so you just stay here and have your vacation because this is a real sad thing and I'll come back later. And I said, no, 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 no. This is it. Remember in the phone call you said, I don't know what it is, but you have to be here for Christmas?
Mhm.
This is it.
Mhm.
This is why. I can do something. Let's go. Oh, no, no. Don't argue. Don't say no. Let's go. So I sat there at the cremation and I started doing a mantra with his name because he's in the coffin and he's going down the rollers right into the fire oven right there in front of us. I mean, we don't see it, but I mean, we see the coffin and then it moves and it goes into this little doorway hatchway and then we hear the fire start up. So it's like it's happening right there. And so I'm doing the mantra, calling out to him, and then I'm calling out to Osho. So I'm doing this with my breathing, as a kind of a silent breathing
Mhm.
mantra, both of their names, just going on and going on. Yeah, and just got into this uh, repeat loop sort of thing of just those two names, on and on and on and on and on with this thing, you know. And then I feel the three of us, automatically, feel their presence and Osho really coming in strong. And then the three of us coming together and this whole handoff sort of thing about me delivering them to Osho, you know. And then it gets to a certain point where it's like, okay, two's company, three's a crowd, time for me to exit, you know.
Mhm.
And so I begin to come out and I realized that I have been sitting here for 6 hours. I'm like rigor mortis. My eyelids are all glued shut. Everything is all like the Tin Man. I'm all frozen. It's like I gotta uncurl a finger at a time. The candles were all burned out. There was nobody left in the chapel. You I get up, I go out. There's this rainbow over the cemetery. There's this one car in the parking lot. And the windows are all steamed up. And it's my friend and her brother sitting there in the car waiting for me, you know. And they needed the time,
Mhm.
to finally get to the conversation, because they had to wait and wait and wait for me because they couldn't leave me stranded there. They're morally obligated. And so eventually they got around to the nitty-gritty heart-to-heart conversation that they were so reluctant to get into, and they did it, and they had it, and they arrived at that. And so that was all part of the whole healing thing. And so then they saw me coming, and so he came out, and then he was all crying. He was all, "Thank you, you did what I couldn't do," and all this kind of stuff. But it was, and that was one of my first real link in with calling in the teacher for
Mhm.
extraordinary work,
Mhm.
and wow, what a transformative experience. That really kickstarted me going, um, in, and then, but it didn't answer, it gave me this experience, but it left so many unanswered questions about the dynamics of it all. And so this is why when I finally linked up with Master Choa, then so much of this stuff began to make sense, and began to become self-explanatory, you know, because of whereas these other teachers just didn't have the teaching to be
Mhm.
able to paint the whole picture to us, and
They
they
could do it, but they couldn't put it into words to explain it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which was like classic with Jake Krishnamurti. He
Mhm.
he because him and his brother, the Theosophists, had discovered him and his brother in Madras when they were young kids, and golden aura energy around these. Wow! And so they made a deal. They found out who their parents were, and so they formally adopted these two kids, and then gave
Mhm.
the family a living wage allowance, in
Mhm.
exchange for being able to adopt. So really benefit because that family was so dirt poor, mud hut sort of stuff, you know, if that. And so, uh, but then what they did, so they experimented on Krishnamurti, 24-hour day saturation. While he was sleeping, they had people, sitting there beside his bed while he's sleeping, reading sacred, uh, secret teachings and stuff like that. Well, his brother died from a brain aneurysm, from like cerebral overload,
Mhm.
just too much. So there's Kundalini syndrome sort of thing,
Very bad
and
things. Yeah.
that's why Krishnamurti was really mad at the Theosophists, because he realized that because they had been made guinea pigs and had been forced, like he was forced into a type of a low level of enlightenment,
Mhm.
like how they force a rose to open too soon.
Mhm.
And so in his teachings, that's why it's like it's so hyper mental oriented, and it's so convoluted, hard to understand what he's talking about, you know. And
Mhm.
because I I had a little time, interviewed him for a little bit,
Mm.
because because at that time on that trip, I had made a Greenpeace press card, and so I used this to get in back doors, all sorts of stuff like that, you know? So, so they yeah, and, yeah, but he would when he was talking to the audience, he was in agony because he had something, but there was hardly anyone in the audience that could grok it, that could really understand where he was coming from, you know?
Mhm.
And he would openly say, "You people are not listening to me," and just be weeping, you know, in
Mhm.
agony because of his inability to be able to reach
Mhm.
people with what
Mhm.
he had, because he was forced into the whole thing. Which is why Osho in particular was so good at his deliverance,
Mhm.
'cause he could paint the answers in so many different colors that pretty much everyone in the audience with the hearing could understand what it is that he was talking about, you
Mhm.
know? And so oftentimes when he'd explain something, he'd explain it like half a dozen different ways, and it's all the same story. It's just different, examples. And then, oh, we got it, And then same thing with Master Cho, you know, where he's classic. You might even have been there when he did this, where he was talking to the class and he was scanning the class to see whether they were uh, understanding it, and so he said, just a minute here. And then he reaches up with his left hand and he points up in this, and he says, let me see in a way that I can say this, that you can understand.
Mhm.
You know? And then he came back and then he began to deliver the same thing, but in a different uh, linguistic, you know, you know, and because he was talking big picture and we weren't getting it. So he said, "Let me see in a way that I can understand, that you can understand, what, you know." So
Mhm.
he got spirit realm to kind of present it to him, and then he spoke to us, and we all got it. You know,
Mhm.
that was an amazing moment. It was
Mhm.
amazing. It's on videotape. I wish I had the copy of that, but
Mhm.
yeah, and that's
I wasn't around in pranic healing yet at that time.
oh,
Yeah, no, I started in 2014, so master had already been passed on for a little bit.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So you're like your friend that was sleeping on your couch that's
Yeah.
already karmically, already here, you just come in for a tune-up. Well, I know so many people like
Mhm.
this in pranic healing, my
Mhm.
goodness, all they need is they just need the the references and then just turn them loose, and let them just like,
Mhm.
you know, yeah, but yeah, yeah, yeah. So got nothing better to do, eh? Is there anything? Oh gosh, yeah, 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 yeah.
All right. Well, this feels like a pretty natural stopping point for today.
Okay, yeah.
How do you feel?
Oh, pretty good. What time is it? It's 2 o'clock, so it's like 3 hours.
About 3 hours? Yeah.